Hey guys, this is Jay with the Douchebag Brigade, and so I finished up Majin Tensei. Loved it. As you guys are aware, that was probably one of the most fun old school SMT games I've played. And that's not to take credit away from SMT1, SMT2, or any of that. But it was something special to it and different that really made it fun. And I think really a lot of it comes down to how much of it changed a lot of the gameplay. But that's not really what I'm here to talk to you guys about. So I'm going to be doing a Let's Play of Megami Tensei 2, the Super Famicom version of Kyuuyaku? Megami Tensei Kyuuyaku? Something like that. Anyway, so what it is an upgraded port, an HD remake now, a Super Nintendo remake of the NES original game Megami Tensei. And I will say, just from the little bit that I've played so far, it's an interesting game where you actually begin where you left off in Megami Tensei 1. Now keep in mind, Megami Tensei 1 was all played in one place, and what I mean by that, it's all basically one tower. And so there's no overworld. Whereas in this game, you start off playing the first level of Megami Tensei 1 again, but kind of from a top-down perspective. You actually get a third-person perspective in this game, which is really interesting. But you're playing the first level, and once you beat that, you realize you're just playing a video game, and then Pazuzu intervenes, and it all kind of goes from there. So one thing that's really cool, as I just mentioned, the third-person perspective. It really is nice to not only be in first person, and the third-person perspective you're accustomed to in SMT 1 and 2 with the little, like the little cone with the circle over it, the little guy. This actually gives you more of a Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest little character walking around, which I enjoy. I like the change in what you see from the top-down perspective. I enjoy that. It's just a nice change of pace. Graphically, this game is as good as SMT 1 and 2, I'd say. Maybe not quite on par with If or Majin Tensei, but it's pretty good. The graphics look like they were, they kept a lot of the original sprites in a sense, and it looks like they just fully, not the original sprites. They used these sprites, and they didn't change them too much, I guess, from the original game design. I don't know what the choice behind that was or how they made that decision exactly, but the game graphics look good. I don't know how to describe them exactly. They look good, and they look in a way newer than SMT 1 and 2, which is because this port was made after, so it makes sense. But anyway, let me go forward from the graphical discussion. Overall, when you see the graphics of the overworld, it's interesting, it's nice, it's very different. It's not just like destroyed buildings. Well, it is destroyed buildings, but it's not quite the same kind of premise. You have a lot more free range to walk out there. I would say that this game has a lot of difficult moments. It's not easy by any sense of that word. If you're not leveled, if you haven't been grinding, and or you haven't created a statistical friend who's much better in magic, you're going to have a hard time. The magic, it helps because you find enemies who are really resistant to both guns and swords, and that's a really cool thing. You have the guns and swords option, but what I've noticed in this game that I didn't notice in 1 and 2 is there's an NPC who tells you, hey, guns work really good against, full-bodied enemies like zombies, orcs, things like that, whereas swords work really good against wisps or like weird strange monsters, slimes. So it's actually a cool little concept between when to use guns and when to use swords that you don't commonly see when you're playing a SMT game. Usually it's more about, well, what's your strength and what's your speed at to affect either the guns or the swords. And so I enjoy that. I enjoy that change of pace, because usually I throw guns to the wayside in these games, but I enjoy the option to use both and the strategic decision behind it. I find that to be really interesting and really cool. Another piece of what I've noticed is when you have certain enemies, the magic really helps, obviously, and because your equipment is so important in this game, and from what I can see, if you don't have up-to-date equipment, it's tough to really survive. So what I've noticed, if you're on a budget in the game, you make your main character the in-front character, and you try to put some monsters in between, some of your own demons, I should say, in between you and your assistant, your buddy, your ally, your magic friend. And if you put enough of a space in between you and that guy, a lot of times they won't attack the magic user, so you can save on the equipment on him as long as you can end the battle fairly quickly. Because what they like to do is it even says, and NPC says this too, demons like to attack the guy in the front. It's hard being a leader, is like the quote. And so keep that in mind when you're deciding what part of what section you want to strongly affect. Another piece of this game I can tell you is, just from experiencing it for a short time, it does the whole, you got to do this before you can go here stuff, as opposed to being quite as open world as SMT or SMT2, but it's still pretty open. But like, you'll notice even off the beginning, there are going to be some restrictions to where you can go, which is actually interesting. They brought back some features that I hadn't seen since this game up until SMT4, which I thought was kind of interesting, like the whole being able to cross certain watery areas. You don't really see that in 3, you don't see that in 1 and 2, you certainly don't see that in NIF, because there is no overworld NIF. Well, there's no outside overworld that you can walk around. So I find it really a really nice change of pace. Again, you know, one of the things about when you're playing SMT games, multiple SMT games in a row, is you look for that variety. And if you're playing them all in succession, sometimes you don't get a lot of variety. So it's fun to hop from Megami Tensei to something like this, to SMT1, then to IF, and then to like Persona 2. Like, there's a lot of change. You're getting the joy that is Megaten, but in different styles, and it's fun to be able to really live those games in those different avenues and different levels. So, as a whole, I can say from what I've played so far, this game has definitely piqued my interest. It has some changes in the fusion system, which I think are really interesting, like having a 3-way fusion, which this is the first game to introduce 3-way fusion. We can call that Ménage à Trois fusion. And so you're taking, you can't just take any demon you want, though, and mix them. They have to have the title of good. And that doesn't mean, at least I don't believe, that means has anything to do with chaotic, neutral, lawful. I think good just has to do with, at least from what I've seen, it seems like elementals make good creations if you use slime elements. And so far, I mean, I've tinkered around with this stuff, but I haven't found enough to really tell you exactly what manifests a good demon. I've been tinkering around with it, and you guys can come and you can see, obviously watch my videos once they're up. I'm waiting on you guys to vote on what you want to see for playthrough. Do you want chaotic? Do you want lawful? Do you want neutral? As of the recording of this video, chaotic is out in front. However, over the last day, neutral has really creeped up, which kind of surprised me. Nobody likes lawful, and you know, it's interesting. I've always been the guy to go the chaos route. I did kind of want to go the lawful route in this one, but that's obviously not what you guys want to see. And I kind of find it fun that that everybody likes a little bit of chaos. But what's really interesting is how many people want to see neutral. Neutral's usually not my decision in most games, so I find it really interesting. Well, anyway, guys, make sure that you get to my Twitter. You go and vote. Shin Megami Rosen. Make sure you get on there. Vote for the ending that you want me to try to attain, or the path you want me to choose, or the decisions you want me to make, whatever. However it's structured in this game, I'm not 100% sure yet, and I'm happy to do it. And I look forward to putting these videos out for you, these Let's Plays, and obviously having more conversations as a whole based on Mega 10 games. Alright guys, this is Jay, and I'm out.